Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show. I'm so excited that you are here. And today we're going to dive deep into the life of an extraordinary leader. I just wrapped up an incredible conversation with a friend of mine named Hector Garcia. And I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss this one, especially if you are somebody who feels like you have to do it a certain way, only to come to realize there is always a different way to do leadership. Hector is the founder of LaborShare, Art of the Raise, as well as the CEO of Anchor, a U.S. finance and accounting group. Fund the dream has always been this idea for Hector, this thing for him that's always sort of driven his desire. He went from pizza delivery driver to executive leadership of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and it really has shaped his philosophy and really grounded him in the values of dreaming big, taking action, and paying it forward to the next person. And so I've watched Hector now, and for over 20 years of experience really across private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Hector has an expertise in finance, accounting, HR, sales. My guy has done it all. In 2021, he founded LaborShare. It's an international staffing agency focused on connecting exceptional staff, exceptional international talent with US-based CPA firms. And he's done an incredible job with that. In 2024, he launched Art of the Raise. This is an educational platform fueled by his passion for business development. And I'm so grateful for him to be there with us. As we step into 2025, he has further desire to help strengthen financial fluency in business leaders. He has spearheaded the launch of a US-based accounting firm dedicated exclusively to designing and deploying systems that small businesses can navigate and use things in the future. His ultimate mission? Well, you'll hear about that in the episode today, to make sure that he can fund the dream of opportunity, financial abundance, and time for as many people as possible. I so appreciate his time, and I love today hearing about his journey of what he thought he was supposed to be and how he translated that into who he really is today. This episode is packed with raw honesty, actionable insights, and a perspective to challenge you to rethink what authenticity really means. Let's jump in. Welcome to the Rocky Garza Show, where we explore the collision of a deeply meaningful life and a wildly impactful career. I'm your host, Rocky Garza, and with over a decade of experience as a coach, consultant, and keynote speaker to many Fortune 500 companies, I'm here to share personal stories and expert advice to help you gain clarity, build confidence, and discover that you too can build the life you actually want. Whether you're a high achiever looking for a more full life or a leader striving for professional success with purpose, this podcast was designed with you in mind. All right, welcome to the Rocky Garza Show. I am stoked to have not only an incredible human being, and I don't always get to say that, somebody who's an incredible human being, somebody who I know personally, somebody who I've actually worked with, somebody who I've worked with and not just like worked with like they were a client of mine, low key for a while there. I think I was kind of a client of his and he didn't know it. And in all of those spaces, my man, Hector Garcia.
What is up, Rock?
Golly,
Super happy to see you, man. And likewise on everything that you said, dude. You're a great human.
I feel like you're like my brother from another mother that lives in El Paso.
That's right.
Happened. You just got the brains and the good looks, and I got the fast words. That's basically how we landed here. Man, I am so grateful for you being on the show. Folks already heard this. They can see it in the show notes. Everything you're about, how to connect with you. I went through all the things you, from pizza delivery all the way into being an executive of billion-dollar companies to you're finding your mission. I think I've gotten this really, I really feel like I've had a privilege over the course of the last couple of years. Me and you met. It'll be 2 years ago in summer of 25. So let's say for now, it's been roughly 18 months. 4 months into that meeting, you and I, we worked together for a stint. And then really from my perspective, like in the last, I'm going to call it 9 months. You can maybe change this time frame, but I feel like in the last 9 months, everything that has occurred in your life has culminated or is culminating, if you will, not to a destination, but across said journey. I experience you today, the most free version of you I have ever known. And I've only known you for 2 years, so I can't get crazy like we've known each other for 2 decades. That's not fair. Talk to me about what that has been like for you, because I think there's a ton of leaders who listen to our show, who are catching this on social, that feel like they have to be something so that they will be seen, known, appreciated, valued, respected. We can fill in all the gaps of those words, right? I have watched you like debunk that whole theory through your own personal journey to land on going, hey, this is really who I am, take it or leave it. That doesn't mean I have to throw the sport coat out and I can't have the hat or vice versa. They can all exist together. But for a long time, I feel like they couldn't exist together. there was a singular version that made you successful versus who you are today. So I know that was a lot, and there's a lot of questions there. So when you hear all that, talk to me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I could put it, I guess since I've met you these last 18 months, it's just been a wild roller coaster, right? And in a positive way. I think when we met, I had already been an entrepreneur for about 3 years. I had scaled a company the same way I helped scale other billion-dollar businesses. I worked for global logistics companies, supply chain companies, and I was a finance accounting manager for a region, Mexico, US, and we drank the Kool-Aid, right? I started in the companies 19 years old, man. And so I learned from all of the good and all of the bad, right? All the good leaders, all the bad leaders. And what I found is just a framework on how to kind of grow up in a corporation. And what I found is that everyone generally dresses the same. The goal is to stand out and kind of stand under the spotlight, be an individual with a lot of opinion, a lot of action, and just be a killer, right? And for lack of better words, but what I found is that created an identity, maybe a false identity. Now I resonate with it being just a survivor's identity. It's just trying to move up in the world, in corporate, drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Doing everything that I had to do to move at the same speed as all of the higher executives when I had first started. And what that did is it created a persona, so to speak, professional persona, how to dress, how to act, how to talk. It helped me be really successful in those large publicly traded companies. 20 years passed, became an entrepreneur, then all of a sudden started figuring out that, damn, everybody does it completely different outside of corporate. I felt like a fish out of water. Okay. I'm conducting myself in my small business, both in Mexico and in the US, as a corporate guy, right? I would show up in a suit, a sports coat, had the watches, had the pins, and showed up. And I realized nobody cared, right? And that was strange to me because in the past, that is how I fit in the best. I walked into a room and it was like, oh, yeah, that guy is swimming at the same speed. And out here in the entrepreneur world, it was like, this is not effective at all. And at the same time, I was feeling like an imposter in the entrepreneur world, specifically because I was not drinking that Kool-Aid yet. And the Kool-Aid I found in the entrepreneur world, especially meeting you and some of the other guys that used to hang with, you guys were yourselves. And I think when I saw you at that conference, the only thing I could think of is how much do I have to pay to figure out the secret sauce? And over the course of you and I talking, I found the secret sauce was just being yourself, right? And as simple as that sounds, it has been a complicated journey for me. It's a roller coaster from fighting against being myself, not knowing who I was specifically, and just changing the trajectory of where I was going, right? And that's where I am now, man. It's a absolute roller coaster. The guy you find today is a guy who constantly fights against the old Hector drinking a Kool-Aid, right? And simply put, just being myself in every single thing. If you had met me 2 years ago, I would have been in a sports coat in my home office with no cap, side part, the whole deal. But now, hey, take it or leave it kind of thing. That's how I roll.
Man, number one, freaking, well, I wish if I could scream and it not hurt people's feelings they were on a podcast, I would, because I love listening to your ability to communicate your journey, but your words, right? Specific to you, nobody else's. But I love this. You said, I wanted to figure out how I could show up best. And I remember you and I talking, how you showed up best was I feel like I'm the best. I'm going to be taken seriously when I have my suit or my sport coat or my cufflinks and my watch and my pin and so on and so forth, which I think all that is true, right? I think that's, if I could paraphrase everything you've done and experienced in the last 18 months, I would just summarize it. We'd call the story because you still have the watch, you still have the pins, you still use them to write. But there's something really different, right? There's something really different about writing with that pen, with the hat and a sweatshirt on, feeling like yourself than there is writing with that pen because the pen makes you self. Those are two very different things, right?
Yep.
And I love, if I'm gonna bottle this up and save it for later. You said, I recognized I would pay any amount of money to find the secret sauce, only to have paid the amount of money to discover that the sauce was me. And if there was a better way, just so we all know, you're going to see this clip on Instagram. If there was a better way to describe, I think at the heart of what I really hope to spend, I've spent my life and the rest of my life doing, is to help individuals see that exactly. Like,
Sure.
there is an amount of money you can spend to discover the secret sauce and realize the sauce is you. Most of us just don't know us today. We know a former version of us. We know the survival version of us. We know the version of us that we did that when things were terrible, we did this thing and they got better. So then we did that thing on repeat for 2 decades, and we're going to trust that it's going to continue. And I think for a lot of us, to some degree, it does. But does it continue in the direction that you actually want to go? Or does it just continue to go in a direction that we have this innate fear that if we attempt to adjust, means it's all going to go away? And I think you are a prime example of showing, yeah, it is a roller coaster. You didn't pivot and all of a sudden it was just unicorns and rainbows and the no fear every day. Show up and be yourself, or go back to what I know that's comfortable, but am I really comfortable, or am I just willing to? And then again, we go down this long list of how those stories go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what I found is some people, I use the phrase take it or leave it, right? That is where the roller coaster came in, because I started showing up as my truest self, right? And this is family, friends, colleagues, business clients, the whole deal. And it was a shock. I've never had facial hair because that was not a thing. Drank the Kool-Aid and be clean cut, do the whole deal. And I started growing facial hair. I didn't even know I could. I was happy about it. I call them whiskers, but that was one thing that shocked the hell out of everybody, that I started showing up as a person that no longer required someone else's validation, right? I was just there to be present. And
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
I showed up as a person that no longer needed validation. I just showed up to be present. And some people were shocked because they knew the Hector for 2 decades being the same guy that I always was. And now I show up as the guy who says, take it or leave it kind of thing. Some people have left it, and a lot of people have taken to it, which is amazing. And the group of friends and colleagues, they get smaller because naturally that happens. But I think the people who benefited the most from it was my family, because I no longer had to do this kind of double life thing. My family's always known this guy. I used to put on the white guy voice. My dad always says the same thing. He's a Mexican guy living in a American world. He used to work for the state. And whenever his boss would come in, a white dude from Plano, Texas, he would put on his white voice. And I would do the same. It's just jokingly the white voice, the professional voice, the business guy voice. And now I talk the way I talk, and there's no more different voice. It's just who I am. My family has recognized that because I'm more relaxed, more free. I think they benefited from it the most out of everyone. And frankly, those are the most important people that I would have wanted them to have benefited from the change.
Yeah, you are a walking testament to the sort of the core conviction I feel like I've had the majority of my life of when we are willing. You're even using it. So talk about drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I feel like you are inside my head right now. Even saying, hey, I'm on a path to discover the truest me, not the best me, because the truest me isn't always best. If we're going to call it what it is, the truest Rocky is not always the best Rocky. It's just the truest Rocky, because some days the truest me, you probably don't want to be around. It may not be a good day. Now, that doesn't mean I have the right to show up and intentionally or maliciously harm someone, be a jerk, be rude on purpose, right? Like that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're saying the truest me. Last night, I don't know what, my head was kind of hurting, and I was a little bit frustrated because I wanted to work out. Some people came to our house for this thing for my wife, which was totally cool. I was excited about that, but that led to me then doing something to my son, and we threw the baseball, which is really fun. It's time to cook dinner. Now it's like, hey, I ate dinner. It's 7:40. I do not want to go downstairs and do front squats. That's literally the last thing on my mind. And so now I'm in a bad mood because I didn't work out. And I remember going to the kitchen and my wife's like, what's wrong? I was like, nothing, I'm good. I went to put something in the laundry room. And I remember thinking to myself, today has been a great day for your wife. That was yesterday. I said, tomorrow, which is now today, is going to be one of the single greatest days of her life to celebrate. She is pumped. Rocky, how many times have you thought to yourself, it's a good day for you. I really hope everybody else can be excited with me and they don't let their shit get in the way. How many times have I thought that? And I'm telling you, more than I wish, not because people are in a bad mood, because I'm selfish. I literally put my clothes in the washing machine and I thought, Rocky, suck it up. Whatever you're upset, oh, you didn't get to work out today. Calm down, my boy. Just do it tomorrow. It's not that big of a deal. And
Yeah.
there's someone in your life who either the people closest to us get the truest of us, and then we have the ability to make a decision about what we want to do with that. Or we go, no, this is just who I am. And I get mad when I don't work out and people just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But one of those, I think, communicates a level of self-centeredness that we expect the world to revolve around us. And the other one requires a level of self-awareness to recognize we are just singular in a wide world that involves a bunch of people.
Yeah.
One of those doesn't make us better or worse or right or wrong or more important or less important. However, one of those puts us in the middle and we think that we're the most important. And one of those lets us just be a single player in the game that we're all getting to be a part of together because we all play an equal role. However, there is impact on what those things are.
And it's funny because since I've met you, you've always said, I'm selfish. And in a way that's true, but you're selfish so that you can be selfless, right? And that is something I found out about myself. I've always been a giver of time, giver of money, giver of compliments, the whole deal. And I did it because that's who I am. Naturally, that's who I am. What I noticed is I was not selfish. I think throughout this whole journey, I've identified with the need to be selfish so that I can just give that much more. Because when I'm selfish, I show up as myself, who I aspire to be on a daily basis. I'm able to do much more for other people. Being selfish has been one of the tools that has been incredibly powerful in this 18-month journey. I have to be selfish so that I can deliver a better me. You know what I'm saying? That tool, I have to remind myself on a daily basis. I did it today. I was like, what cap am I going to wear? Am I going to wear this one? Who cares? Put the damn cap on and show up. It's a thing, man. Every single day I battle with it, but it's something that I already know I have to fight against so that I can be selfish for others, right?
Because I think that's something that most of us hear. We go, yeah, I get it, me too. And then we turn a blind eye / walk away from it because we don't want to step into the hard. We've all read and seen the memes, and some days they motivate us and some days we laugh, right? Like, working out is hard, being overweight is hard, use your heart. There's this long list, and the answer to all of it is yes. Sure, you're correct about all those things, and so I guess I'm a terrible person. What do you want from me? Sometimes I read those. In your journey, in your roller coaster, in your sort of day-to-day, beautiful example, what hat am I going to wear? How am I going to just put a hat on? Talk to me about that daily struggle, that daily thing you're coming up against. Because really we're fighting ourselves, right? Like we're fighting one portion of ourselves. It's like, it really matters. Don't mess it up. And then we're fighting the other part of ourselves. It's, hey, you're already worthy. You're already valuable. Hey, you already have an invitation to the podcast. Just show up to the podcast. You're already invited to the party. Go to the party. Talk to me about what that's like for you.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be a work in progress, right? The work that I found was required to get to this point was, number one, working with you. Working with you opened up my eyes to say, am I being my true self? That was the biggest takeaway when I was working with you, because we had maybe like a 6-month, really powerful time together. But I left that saying, okay, now what? I don't have somebody to call me on my stuff. I don't have anybody to say, hey, you're doing that thing again. And what I noticed is that there was something really ingrained, right? Like deep down inside. I couldn't figure out what it was. So what I decided to do is I just started researching why people require validation. I started going down this wormhole, right? And I found that it's all this stuff that comes from our childhood. And I know you've said that often in the past. And what I needed is I needed to pay someone money to tell me, hey, there's something more there. You need to go find it. And so I started doing that. I just jumped into therapy right after you and I had talked, maybe a couple of months after. And I said, I really got to figure out what this is. The greatest part is the therapist that I had started up with said, hey, it seems like you have this really focused idea of what you want to figure out. I had the language to do that, right? I felt confident enough to say, let's go to the past. Let's figure out where this need for validation or need to be liked comes from. I started unpacking it. I found out a couple of things in my childhood that happened that forced me to think I need to show up in my best way all the time and put up a front, so to speak, all the way through childhood, all the way through my young adulthood. And therapy really helped me figure out that I have something deep down that's ingrained. And so to your question, how do I deal with that on a daily basis? It's a struggle, but I have tools now. I have the
Yep.
tools that you and I worked on. I have the tools that I worked on throughout therapy every single day. I do affirmations. I remind myself who I am, not so much who I am going to be, is who I am right now. And every day when I walk out the door, I have to remind myself that take it or leave it, right? Those kind of fundamentals are really what's helping me guide my daily process of showing up as me, right? It happens every single day because I'm so focused on showing up as myself in every circumstance. My family's starting to do that as well, right? They're seeing, oh, we can show up this way because me as an adult father started ingraining these little things without even knowing it into my kids, right? And so now it's, hey, you're good enough. Show up how you are, who you are, dress how you want, so long as you feel good about yourself, right? So that is what I do on a daily basis. I encourage my kids and my wife to do the same. But yeah, it's a daily struggle, man. It's crazy. Once you peel back everything and you're like, damn, now I need to be myself. You need to really learn how to be yourself on a daily basis. So it's just practice.
Yeah, I love that. My short answer to that is yes. Simply yes. What I love about what you're saying, who you are today is a consistent struggle to remind ourselves of what it is because it's brand new. Like, I think this is a concept that maybe is profound to me. Maybe it's very simple to the average listener, but I think it's something I'm learning. I have never been me today. I've never experienced today like this.
Yeah.
My kids are 9 and 6. Like, I've never been a dad to a 9-year-old.
Hmm.
I don't know, am I doing it right? I've never been in this position in business. I have at most a decade, if I'm being really generous, where I get to be in this beautiful period of being a father, having a son, having a father, and being in this sort of triad of experience before it goes away. And then I will transition out and transition up. And at some point, then I'll only be one point of the triangle. But right now,
Yeah.
I sort of get to live in this beautiful, I've
Right.
never done that before. I've never had a business that would do X amount of revenue. I've never been on a stage where I got to be in front of this. I've never had a podcast. There's so many things that we sell ourselves short of the reality of what we are becoming daily because we have this perceived mindset of that I have to already have had this thing to be loved, or if
Yeah.
I don't become this thing, then I won't be loved, rather than it's actually the lived experience we're having right now. I shouldn't know how to do it because I've never done it, and I'm
Yeah.
going to keep doing it. And then tomorrow I'll look back and go, yo, I knew exactly what to do. I did it and I learned, and I'm going to try it again tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that journey of self-discovery, in that journey of who am I today? Who was I yesterday? Who am I becoming tomorrow? All three of those worlds have to live together. I think most of us get stuck in either the singular place that says, who was I yesterday and how do I recreate that so I'll still be loved? Or who do
Yeah.
I need to become tomorrow because today I wasn't loved and maybe tomorrow I will be? And
Yeah.
both of those keep us out of the ability to have your like take it or leave it present mindset. And so we spend all our energy becoming who we used to be so that we will be loved. Or we spend all our energy becoming something we were never made to be because we think someone will love us. And I know I'm
Right.
using the word love, and many of you are listening, you're corporate leaders or VPs or executives, you're thinking, what are you talking about love? Just stay with me. The whole reason you make decisions on your executive team is because you want people to love you and like you. You can argue with me all you want, but at the end of the day, I know I'm right. So I think in that space, it's really important, given all the things we have going on, go back to your language about being selfish. Self-worth is not selfish.
Mhm.
And being selfless is not giving up yourself for someone else. It's simply thinking of yourself less, meaning that you are less important than you might think and equally important to everybody else. And
Yeah.
then there's a place I actually get to belong. And I think that takes a lot of work. And there is absolutely a secret sauce. Unfortunately and fortunately, the secret sauce is you. And you
Yeah.
just got to determine what you want to do to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm with you. And segueing from what you just said, I think when we have so much junk in our heads, and this is speaking to corporate leaders, managers, up and comers, newbies, the whole deal, we have so much junk in our head, we're not able to listen properly, right? Because the validation that we seek, we generally get it on a daily basis from the people who love us the most, the people who are closest to us, but we tend to not hear it because there's so much junk in there. Validation comes from we were talking about kids earlier. I have 3 kids, and when they say, bye dad, I love you, or hi dad, I love you, I miss you, that kind of thing. That is all the validation we should be recognizing. We just generally don't, because we focus on all this other stuff, all these other people out there. And it's crazy because we get the validation. Some of us get it from our parents, from our kids, our spouses. If you're married, that is a true testament to the validation that you probably have. And I've taught my family how to take inventory, right? And this is something I discovered from the coaching that you and I did, but something I developed for myself, because I have to take daily. And what I mean by that is I focus on the people that I have in my life. And just like business, just a balance sheet with all of the assets and all the fixed assets, we need to maintain all of those things. And so when we're humans and we all have all the junk in our head, we don't take inventory properly, kind of cultivate the stuff we have around us, right? And so that's a tool that I use on a daily basis. Sometimes I find myself down in the morning. I don't want to do anything. It's, wow, it's not going the way it needs to be going. Or, hey, I'm overwhelmed with X, Y, and Z. But I stop and I take inventory, because the inventory is all I need to focus on right now. Most of the time, it's not even materialistic. It's more the people I want in my life, the people I want to provide good energy to and just be with. It was a Mel Robbins podcast. You've heard a lot of people do this. They speak it into existence. They
Manifestation.
visualize, manifestation. And it was crazy because there was a guy talking about it saying, man, I was tearing up. I started visualizing my future. And he started talking about the house I'm going to live in, the location it's going to be. It's going to be on an ocean front. I'm going to walk out. I'm going to breathe in that beautiful air. I'm going to look on the wall. Who are the people in the pictures on the wall? Who am I going to sleep next to? Who am I waking up to and having breakfast? And in my head, because I do that inventory exercise, I know that when you mentioned, I'm going to go into my closet, is it Louis Vuitton? Is it Chanel? Is it all this amazing materialistic things? But if he peels back all of the materialistic stuff, the money, the houses, the location, and focuses on the people that he sleeps next to at night, the people he gets to have breakfast with in the morning, the parents he still has in his life, the grandparents, the future grandkids, he's going to notice that he's already living that dream life, right? And so that is literally what I do on a daily basis, so that I remind myself that I am living my dream life, aside from all of the materialistic stuff, because after 20 years, money doesn't fix anything. I'll tell you right now, that was my goal, was always money, so that I could become a happier person. I arrived there and I was like, damn, something is still missing. But it was just the matter of taking inventory, knowing I'm living my dream life right now, regardless of whether it's in a cardboard box or a mansion or a house in Malibu. That is what I do on a daily basis, just take inventory. So hopefully people hear that and say, okay, I'm going to take out a piece of paper, take inventory of the people I have in my life, what I have in my life, circle the things that are most important, just cultivate on it.
Yeah. Yes. My answer to that is absolutely. And I think what I love about what you're saying, a phrase that we've begun using, is that ultimately, if I could say what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing, it's helping individuals, leaders. Leader only means somebody who is in pursuit of something. That's my definition. I don't care what your title is, if executive, if you're 22, if you're 62, it doesn't really matter. If you're in pursuit of something, you're a leader, because you're in pursuit of something that someone probably is going to follow. So chalk it up to being easy. If we can help you discover the intersection of a meaningful life and a successful career for you, whatever that means for you, not for, I have no idea where your intersection is, right?
Mhm.
But I think we ran with that language for a while and we still use that. But I think what I've found, because you know me, I always like to dig a little further. If we go one step further, well, how do we give it? And I think now I'm going to marry this language with your inventory. We'll see where these two things collide. Really what we're saying is I want to find a way to find the intersection between your personal conviction and your professional ambition.
Yeah.
How do we find the space between your personal conviction, meaning the things that you are unwilling to relinquish because they're a deep part of your soul, right? They're a deep part of who you are, who you love, your family, who you're with, who is in your corner, community. We're talking about personal conviction, this and self, of all things, self has to fit in that category. And your professional ambition, the ideas and the goals and the dreams of what you think is possible for you to accomplish in your professional life. Without both of those, go back to using some of Hector's words, without a strong inventory of both of those, you will pick the one that seems as though it is the path of least resistance today because you're a human.
Yeah.
Not because you're wrong, not because you're bad or broken. You are a human being who by default chooses comfort and ease because our world has said choose comfort and ease because it's better. So most of us, not all of us, some of us are skewed the other way. I think I was one of the ones that was skewed the other way. And you and I have talked about this a bunch. Most of us have a massive inventory of professional ambition and a very sparse inventory of personal conviction because we want to be validated for the things we pursue and accomplish. So somebody says that we're great. Nobody sees me throwing the baseball with my son. Nobody sees me laying in bed having a hard conversation with my daughter, apologizing for being a jerk. Nobody sees me having a difficult conversation with my wife at date night to talk about how I feel disconnected. No one, you know what? Because all of those things are personal conviction. That's not ambition. It's not for social. It's not recorded. It's not vlogged. It's not, one, because it's none of your business. And two, because I'm not doing it so that you'll like me. I'm doing it because of the people that I already love. If we can find a way to marry or find that intersection of personal conviction and professional ambition, which, by the way, that intersection is like a thumbprint. It is wildly distinctive, unique for every human being that I have ever met in my life. It doesn't mean it's impossible to find. It just means that it's specific to you. So stop looking at everybody else's. Stop listening to every guru who says, if you want to be successful, be like me, because they're all full of shit. You should find the guru that says, if you want to be successful, you should find you. That's what I think. But I'm biased because that's sort of what I say. So nonetheless, I think to use those two things together, how do we sort of take his inventory? Go take an inventory of your personal conviction. Go take an inventory of your professional ambition. And then as you begin to see where time is allotted in a 24-hour window as a normal human being who's got to get good sleep, otherwise you're going to be a jerk, where do you begin to see that intersection? I love the way that you said it. You may come to find out, as many folks do that we work with, you're already living a 90% life you've always wanted today. You just forgot what it looked like.
Yeah. And it's nuts, man. Going back to my corporate days and leadership, I did a lot of leadership training to new up and comers. I still do fractional CFO work for nonprofits and manage a lot of the HR and leadership stuff there too. One of the common things that happens in business is we overcomplicate the thought of leadership. We overcomplicate it just because social media is out there. We see our past bosses. We build on what we've seen in the past, right? And what I always teach and what I've taught in the past is we're the worst leaders when we are not able to let go of our childhood traumas and all that, right? And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? This isn't therapy. It's funny because I'm barely realizing this myself, although I preached it my entire career. We tend to be the leaders that our parents were, our grandparents were, or our past bosses were. And so we tend to try and influence people in the way that we've learned to be influenced. Part of taking inventory on a daily basis and being selfish is figuring out how to correctly influence yourself without having to put out more money, put out more time, give the high fives in the office and all of those things. Some people need more high fives than others, but figuring out how to be yourself, what it is that you actually need, right? Strip it down to where you can be yourself and then ask the questions that you just asked. What do you want to do with your life? How can we help you cultivate your career? How can we help you be a better father? How can we help you be a better parent? Those are all leadership things that we can talk about in the office without necessarily having to cross those HR boundaries.
That's right.
But you have to figure out how to best influence yourself in a positive way, or else you're going to be yelling at people. You're going to be a hard ass on people. You're going to be super sweet and ask them, hey, are you happy? How can I make you happy? At the end of the day, all you got to be asking is those fundamental questions that you're asking yourself. Have you taken an inventory? Do that now. Let me help you cultivate that inventory. Most people in business, most employees, most staffers, all they want is for somebody to say, hey, how can we help you cultivate your dream life? Whatever version it is. That's leadership. Aside from putting out a very clear vision, communicating well, but everyone overcomplicates the hell out of leadership and is just paying it forward and caring about people. And if you can do that, you're being a great leader.
No, I agree. And I think one thing you said at the end is really profound. We paint this picture of leadership on what we assume the CEO's role should be. In 1,000 companies that have 100 employees each, there's 1 million staff, there's only 1,000 CEOs. So of 1 million people, only less than 1%, a tenth of a percent are actually the person who should be casting vision. The rest of us should just do our job. And if we can help people figure out who they are while doing their job, you can be an effective leader. I think we paint this massive idea of what it's supposed to be. I went to go find this earlier because I think as I was talking about earlier, I think it's a good way for us to wrap it up. Inc. posted this, and I don't want to read about where it is or link it because I'm not trying to blast the guy who wrote it because I think he's trying to do a good job. But it says, how can you spot a really good leader? They do these 5 things really well. And here's the 5 things they said. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying these are the wrong 5 things. I'm just saying if we're talking about finding great leaders, let's talk about these 5 things they say we're supposed to do. Number 1, recognize employees. To drastically improve employee experience, they need to tap into an innate human need for recognition and appreciation. Now, I don't disagree, but we just spent 12 minutes talking about why that's probably not going to work for you because you're already feeding a beast that they're unaware that they have. So before you go to recognize employees based on their performance, their validation, their KPIs, why don't we ask ourselves, are we looking for recognition and validation? And if we are, is that why we're so readily ready to give it to someone else so they'll give it back? Or are we giving it because we actually like it? And so I'm about to break this guy's article down. I didn't mean to, but this is what we're going to do. Number 2, give employees the freedom to make decisions. I didn't know I was being asked to do a job that I wasn't able to choose. That's interesting. Right. I thought I was just supposed to do right. Okay. Give regular feedback. This one I can get on board with. I agree. But giving feedback is very different than coaching, which is very different than counseling. It's very natural that we're reading an article that says give feedback. Tell them they're doing a good job or tell them they're doing a bad job. Where are you talking about how for them to improve what they're doing without just measuring whether you think it's good or bad? No, we're not talking about that. Prioritize personal development. Now we're getting somewhere, and I can get on board with this one. No matter whether your employees are in office or working remotely, both personal and professional development should remain top to help team members become the best version of themselves. Right there. That's where I'd blow it up. No, it should not. They should be the truest version of themselves. So on and so forth. Last part, create psychological safety. I can get down on that because, we do want to make sure people feel good. Yeah. All that to say, Hector, I think we're onto something. Maybe we're onto something because we like each other and we just want to tell each other that we're right. And maybe we still have a deep-seated level of validation we want to have. Nonetheless, I have found, I'm going to go back to it again and say it again and again because I think it maybe is one of the most significant things I have heard in a long time. And I didn't say it, which means I got to go back to it because you did. If you are looking to find a way how to show up to be your truest self, ask yourself this question. Am I willing to pay any amount of money to find the secret sauce if I can discover that the secret sauce is me? If that's the case, how much money are you willing to pay to go through the process for whatever it is with whoever it is, to discover who you are at your core, such that you have the ability to show up, to be free, to be your truest, and most importantly, to use all of that with the people you love most, the people you serve at work, and to create the kind of impact and legacy I think most of us are hoping to create.
Love it. Yeah.
Love it, my guy. Love it, love it. So appreciate you, man. Miss you. So good to have you on the show. I so appreciate you. As always, you check out the end here. You're looking to connect with Hector. We've got all of his links there in the show notes. Feel free and reach out to him there. He's a great human being and very smart and probably able to help you in whatever it is that you're doing or you're looking to do. Hector, I so appreciate you. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Rock. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you for tuning into this powerful conversation with Hector Garcia. You can check the show notes and ways in which you can connect with him moving forward. I hope that his story challenged you, inspired you, and showed you what is possible when you put in the work to really figure out who you are, what do you really want, and can you build the life that you really want when you find the intersection of a deeply meaningful life and a wildly successful career. If you listen to his story and you're at a place thinking, hey, I want to take control of my life, I want to do the things like Hector was doing, but I want to find a way to do it my way, then I want to encourage you. I would love for you to join me on my next class, how to take control of your life as a leader, even when work-life balance feels impossible. You can head to rockygarza.com/confidence. Again, that's rockygarza.com/confidence. You can check it out, register, and I would love to see you there. As always, remember to be seen, be known, and lead well. Until next time, I'm Rocky Garza. And remember that when life gets hard, prove it.